June 1st. It's been a long day. I got to the precinct early, hoping to catch up on some paperwork. Maybe even enjoy my coffee before the chaos kicked in. The place was already buzzing, but in that weird, tense way, it makes you feel like everyone's waiting for something to happen. I tried to ignore it, focus on my desk, but then Gordon called me into his office. When I walked in, he just stood there for a second, looking at me with that serious look he gets when things are bad. He didn't say anything right away, just pointed to the chair. So I sat down. Finally, he slid a folder across my desk. I didn't have to open it to know what it was about, but I did anyway. And there it was. Crime scene photos, reports, witness statements. All of them telling the same story. The Joker was back. Gordon let out a sigh, rubbing his temples. "We're putting together a task force," he said. "And I want you to lead it, Marcus. And Sarah will be your partner." Now, I didn't say anything at first, just stared at the file. The Joker. I thought I'd put all that behind me, but I guess Gotham has other plans. It's been years since the last time, but it still feels fresh, like it all happened yesterday. The laughter, chaos, feeling that nothing makes sense. Anyway, I finally looked up at him, just nodded. I could see Sarah through the glass, leaning against her desk, watching us. She had that focused look she gets, like she's already 10 steps ahead. She caught my eye, gave me a small nod. I nodded back, trying to convince myself that I was ready for this. But deep down, I'm not so sure. I know what going after the Joker means. I know what it does to you. I've been there before, and I barely made it out. But Gordon's right. We don't have a choice. This is our job. This is Gotham. And when the Joker shows up, you don't get to sit on the sidelines. You have to dive in, no matter how deep the water gets. June 15th. It's been 2 weeks since we started the task force. And, well, I'm already feeling the strain. The Joker's been leaving his mark all over the city. And every day is something new. This morning, Sarah and I got a call about a street vendor who witnessed something last night. When we got there, he was sitting on the curb next to his cart, just looking like he hadn't slept in days. His eyes were wide, his hands were shaking, and he kept glancing around like he expected the Joker to pop out of the shadows at any moment. It took a while to get him calm enough to talk. At first he was just rambling, words tumbling out of his mouth. But eventually, he started to make some kind of sense. So I decided to jot down his exact words, just to make sure I didn't miss anything later. This is what he said. He was there, in the alley, just standing there, laughing. I didn't even see him at first, just heard that laugh. It was the kind of laugh that gets under your skin, like he was laughing at something only he could see. I looked up, and there he was, not even trying to hide. He just stood there grinning, like he knew something I didn't. I thought he was gonna do something, but he didn't. He just kept on laughing. It wasn't until I tried to move that he finally said something. He leaned in real close, so close I could smell the paint on his face. And he said, "You're the punchline." Just like that. Just like that, you're the punchline. Then he turned around and walked away like it was nothing. Just kept laughing as he walked down the alley. I don't know what he meant by that. I can't stop hearing it though. It's like it's stuck in my head, playing over and over. We stayed with him a bit longer, but he just kept repeating himself, like a broken record. The line, "You're the punchline," is what keeps sticking with me for some reason. There's something about that feels off. Usually a joke is all about causing chaos, making a scene, but this just feels different. Back at the precinct, I went over the notes again, trying to make some kind of sense of it. I was focusing on the words, trying to find some hidden meaning when Sarah pointed something out I'd missed. She'd taken a closer look at the vendor's cart, found a small shard of glass on the ground nearby. It was tiny, barely noticeable, but it had a strange, almost jagged edge, like it'd been broken off of something. I don't know what it means yet. The Joker doesn't do anything by accident. Every detail matters with this guy. Sarah's good at spotting things like that. Little details that others might overlook. That's one of the reasons I'm glad she's on this case with me. You're the punchline. the hell does that even mean? On a different note, I found an old pack of gum in my desk drawer. I think it's been there for over a year. I don't even like gum, so I have no idea how it ended up there. Probably Sarah's doing. I should get some sleep, but my mind won't stop racing. At least the coffee here is strong. I'll need it tomorrow. July 1st. I've been at the precinct almost around the clock these days. I can't stop going over every detail, every scrap of information we've got. I think I've started piecing together what I think is a much bigger picture. It's not just a Joker pulling his usual stunts. There's something else happening. Same names keep popping up in reports and whispers. Old politicians, businessmen, even some cops. And then there's the crimes themselves. They're not random. Not at all. They're like a series of moves in a game that only the Joker knows the rules to. Sarah's been watching me, saying I need to step back, and that I'm trying to see connections that aren't there. But I can't ignore what I'm finding. These people, these places, they're all tied together in ways that are too deliberate to be coincidence. It's like the Joker is playing with us, playing with the city, and everyone is a piece on the board. I'm not sure if it's the late nights or if I'm on to something real. But it's all starting to make sense, some kind of twisted way. Today we had an interview with Callahan, one of Gotham's longtime politicians. He's a slippery one. Always seems to land on his feet, no matter what mud he's been dragged through. I don't trust him. Not one bit. The guy's been around too long, knows too much. When we sat down with him, he wasn't even fazed. In fact, he seemed almost amused by the whole thing. You know, Detective, Gotham's always been this way. It's a city that thrives on chaos. People like the Joker, they aren't just freaks running loose. They're part of the ecosystem, like wolves thinning out the herd, keeping everything in check. The Joker? He's not the disease. He's the symptom. You take away the Joker, and what do you have? A city that's got no one to blame for its problems but itself. Batman tries to be the cure, but he's just the other side of the coin. Gotham needs people like the Joker. Without him, the city would eat itself alive. You're too focused on the Joker, detective. You're missing the bigger picture. This city is rotten to the core. The Joker just exposes what's already there. And Batman? He's just putting a band-aid on a bullet wound. The way Callahan talked about it, like Gotham needs the Joker to keep going. Yeah, that somehow connects in my head. I don't know how to explain it, really. Like, maybe we're all just playing our parts in some sick game. And the Joker's the only one who sees it for what it really is. Sarah gave me a look after the interview. You know, some kind of look that said, "I'm concerned, but I'm frustrated, Marcus." She thinks I'm buying into Callahan's crap. And, maybe a part of me is. I hate to admit it, but there's a logic to it. Gotham is broken. It has been for a long time. The Joker I guess he highlights the cracks. And Batman, well, sometimes I wonder if he's really making things better, or just keeping the cycle going. I need to clear my head. I haven't slept much all day, and then when I do, all I see are these twisted visions of Gotham spinning out of control. Maybe Sarah's right. Maybe I'm getting too close to this. Or maybe I'm finally starting to see things the way they really are. Anyway, I'm out of coffee again. I'll grab some more and try to get some sleep. At least enough to stop my hands from shaking. July 20th. I'm not even sure how to write this. My hands are still shaking. My mind's been racing since I got home. I've been feeling off all day. Like there's something out of sight, waiting. I didn't think much of it at first. We've all been on edge. And I haven't slept right in weeks, but tonight was different. So, I came home late, past midnight, hoping to just crash out. Shut my brain off for a few hours, listen to a sleep story. But The moment I opened the door, I felt something was wrong. My place isn't exactly a fortress, but I'm careful. I always make sure the door is locked. Double check it, triple check it sometimes. But tonight, I don't know. The air inside felt wrong, heavy, like someone had just been there. I went straight to my desk, grabbed my keys, and that's when I saw it. A playing card. Just sitting there, right in the middle. The Joker's face staring up at me. That sick, mocking grin. I couldn't breathe. Felt like the room was spinning around. I don't know how he got in. I don't even know how long the card's been there. Could have been sitting there for hours. Days even, I guess. And I wouldn't have known. He knows. I think. I think he knows I'm onto him. He's been watching me, playing with me this whole time. I wanted to call Sarah straight away. Tell her everything, but what do I say? I've been seeing shadows in every corner, hearing footsteps when no one's there. She'd think I'm losing it. Maybe I am. But this card is real. He's watching me. I can feel his eyes on me every second, waiting for me to slip up. I haven't told Sarah about the nightmares either. They've been getting worse. Every time I close my eyes, I'm back in that alley. The one where I first saw him all those years ago. But now, it's different. Now it's not just me. It's the victims, the witnesses, all of them there with me, laughing. Their faces twisted into that same grin. Their eyes blank and empty. And he's there too, just watching. Always watching. He never speaks. He just smiles. Like he knows something I don't. I don't know what to do. Part of me wants to tear my place apart. Look for cameras, bugs, anything that says he's been here. But I know I won't find anything. He's too smart for all that. He's always 10 steps ahead, always watching. And now he's inside my head. I feel like I can't even trust my own thoughts anymore. Every time I close my eyes, I see that card, that grin. I hear him laughing at me. I feel like I'm losing myself, and I don't know how to stop it. I should tell Sarah, I know I should. But what if this is exactly what he wants? What if he's trying to push me over the edge, make me doubt myself, doubt her? I need to sleep. Maybe I'll just stay up. At least then I'll know what's real and what isn't. At least then I know I won't have to see his face smiling at me, mocking me. God, I need to get out of my own head. August 5th. I'm starting to connect the dots. Every lead we followed, every crime scene, they're all pieces of a bigger picture. It's not just random. There is a pattern. The Joker isn't causing chaos for the sake of it. I can see it if I squint hard enough. Tonight, I stayed late at the precinct again, going over all the files. Sarah walked in. I could tell straight away by her expression that she wasn't happy. She's been on edge lately, I think, more than usual. And I think my obsession with the case is wearing on her. She came in and asked what I was doing. And when I tried to explain, she cut me off. She said I was going too far. That I'm starting to see things that aren't there. She accused me of losing perspective, letting the case get the better of me. I try to explain to her, that we need to get inside the Joker's head to catch him. That we can't just play by the book anymore. And I guess that's when things got pretty heated. I suggested we use some unorthodox methods. Push the boundaries a bit to get ahead of him. Nothing crazy. Just thinking outside the box. But Sarah wasn't having it. She said, what was it? We can't compromise our integrity. And it once we start breaking the rules, we're no better than he is. We went back and forth, neither of us budging. She stormed out eventually, and I was left there alone, staring at the mess of papers and notes I'd covered the desk with. I know she's worried, and maybe she's right, but I can't help thinking that if we don't push ourselves, if we don't take risks, we'll never catch him. After she left, I saw Gordon's notes. He's concerned about how we're handling things, how the tension is affecting the team. I get it. I get it. But I got the feeling I'm onto something big here. We're close. I just wish Sarah could see that. I need to figure out a way to get her on board. Make her understand that sometimes you have to bend the rules to catch a guy like the Joker. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think we have a choice anymore. August 25th. I've been wrestling with this all day. We're running in circles, getting nowhere. And I'll tell you, I'm sick of it. There's this guy we've been keeping an eye on. Just some low-level thug with a long rap sheet and some loose ties to the Joker. I know he's involved somehow, but he's too smart to give us anything we can use. There's no way we're getting a warrant with what little we got on him. Sarah's been saying we need to stay patient, keep doing things by the book. But I'm starting to think that's exactly what the Joker wants us to do. Get bogged down in red tape while he keeps pulling the strings. This guy's hiding something. I'm sure of it. He's been acting too calm, too collected. Like he knows we can't touch him. I've been thinking, maybe it's time to take matters into my own hands. I know how that sounds, but we're not gonna catch the Joker just waiting around. If there's something in this guy's house that could lead us to the Joker, we can't just let it sit there because we're afraid to get our hands dirty. I haven't really slept in days. It's like he's always there, lurking in the shadows of my mind. I can't do this much longer. Not without doing something. Anything. So, I'm going over there tonight. I know it's a risk, but what choice do I have? I've got my tools. And if I find something that helps us catch the Joker, then it'll be worth it. If not, well, I'll deal with that later. But I'm tired of waiting. Tired of these goddamn nightmares. It's time to act. September 10. Case notes. Subject: official warning to Detective Marcus Kane from Captain James Gordon. Summary: Detective Marcus Kane has been formally reprimanded following a breach of protocol. An unauthorized entry into a suspect's home occurred on August 26. Despite the lack of a warrant, Detective Kane proceeded to search the premises, which he justified by claiming an urgent need to advance the Joker case. Details: protocol violation. Detective Kane entered the suspect's residence without obtaining a search warrant, violating department policy and legal standards. Consequences: Detective Kane is issued an official warning. Any further violations will result in a suspension pending investigation. Psychological evaluation. Results from a recent evaluation indicate elevated stress levels among all task force members, particularly Detective Kane. The assessment notes increased paranoia, obsession with the case, and signs of burnout. Note from Detective Sarah Reeves. Detective Reeves submitted a separate report expressing concern for Detective Kane's well-being. She recommends that he take mandatory leave to address his mental health and regain perspective on the case. Marcus's response. During the debrief, Detective Kane revealed that he found what he believes to be critical information during the unauthorized entry. According to Kane, he uncovered details pointing out to a potential location of the Joker's hideout. Kane claims the evidence discovered confirms the Joker's next move, something that could finally end the cat and mouse game they've been playing. Marcus's objection. Detective Kane expressed frustration with the decision to involve Batman, stating that he no longer trusts the vigilante's approach. He argues that Batman's presence in Gotham complicates the work of law enforcement and believes that the task force could handle the situation more effectively without outside interference. Captain's conclusion. Detective Kane is officially warned against further violations of protocol. The evidence he claims to have found will be reviewed, and appropriate action will be taken following standard procedures. A follow-up psychological evaluation of Detective Kane is recommended. I remain concerned about the growing tension with the task force and the increasing friction between Kane and Reeves. Further steps may be needed to ensure team cohesion and prevent burnout among key members. October 15th. Case notes. Filed by Detective Sarah Reeves. Subject: Failed raid unsuspected Joker hideout. Summary: the task force conducted a raid on a location suspected to be the Joker's hideout, based on intelligence obtained by Detective Marcus Kane during an unauthorized search. The raid was a failure, resulting in multiple officer injuries and no apprehension of the Joker or his associates. The operation has raised serious concerns regarding the validity of the intelligence and the overall strategy being employed by the task force. Details of the raid. Location: abandoned warehouse on the east side of Gotham, previously believed to be used by the Joker. Operational overview. The raid was launched at 0300 hours with a team of 12 officers, including Detective Kane and myself. The approach was made under cover of darkness to maximize the element of surprise. Entry teams breached the main entrance and side doors simultaneously. Incident: upon entry, teams were met with a series of booby traps. Explosive devices and smoke bombs were triggered, causing chaos and disorientation. Officers were caught in a crossfire from multiple directions within the warehouse. It became immediately apparent that the operation was compromised. Casualties: Officer Ramirez sustained a gunshot wound to the shoulder. Officer Blake suffered a concussion and several minor burns. 3 additional officers received minor injuries. No fatalities reported. Several officers are undergoing medical evaluation. Outcome: no suspects were apprehended. The Joker and his known associates were not present at the scene, and there was no evidence suggesting they had been there recently. The location appeared to have been rigged, specifically to thwart the raid. Marcus Kane's reaction. Following the failed operation, Detective Kane became agitated, asserting that the department had been set up. He argued that the Joker had orchestrated the entire raid to discredit him, and that someone within the department was feeding the Joker information. Kane's accusations included claims that key operational details had been leaked, compromising the safety and effectiveness of the raid. Conspiracy allegations. Detective Kane suggested that the Joker has a mole within the Gotham Police Department. He stated that the precision of the traps and the timing of the attack indicated foreknowledge of the raid. His theory is that the Joker or his associates were tipped off by someone with inside knowledge. Psychological state. Detective Kane's current state is a matter of concern. His paranoia has escalated following the raid, and he is convinced that the task force is being deliberately undermined. He has expressed distrust in several members of the department and is adamant the Joker is manipulating events from within. Kane's accusations have created further tension within the team. Some officers are beginning to question the validity of the intelligence used for the raid and whether it is safe to continue following leads by Detective Kane. Conclusion. The failure of the raid has set back the investigation significantly and has led to a breakdown in trust within the team. It is unclear whether the intelligence provided was intentionally misleading or if the Joker anticipated our actions and set a trap. The case continues to evolve unpredictably, and the Joker's ability to stay one step ahead remains a significant challenge. Further investigation is necessary to understand the extent of his influence and ensure the safety of all officers involved in this case. Date unknown. I haven't left my apartment in what feels like forever. Time's lost its meaning. Everything's scattered. Papers, files. All of it's a mess. I've been staring at them for hours, trying to make sense of it all. The Joker's been pulling the strings from the start. Every lead, every clue. It's like he knew what we'd do before we even did it. We've been chasing our tails and he's just been laughing at us the whole time. I keep thinking I've missed something. Something important. It's all starting to blur together. I can't tell what's real anymore. Even Sarah. She was here yesterday, or was it today? I don't know. She looked at me differently. Like she knows something I don't. I don't know if I can trust her. I don't know if I can trust anyone. Maybe I'm just losing it. Maybe that's what he wants. November 15. Case notes. Captain James Gordon. Subject: Major Joker attack. Incident Report and Aftermath. Summary. On the night of November 15th, a major attack orchestrated by the Joker occurred in the downtown area. The attack appeared to be aimed directly at Detective Marcus Kane and the task force involved in the Joker case. During the incident, Detective Sarah Reeves sustained severe injuries while protecting Detective Kane. Shortly after the attack, Detective Kane went missing from Gotham General Hospital, prompting a city-wide alert for his location and return. Location: Gotham City Financial District. Event description: at approximately 2200 hours, Detective Marcus Kane and Detective Sarah Reeves, following up on a lead about the Joker's whereabouts, when a series of explosive devices detonated. The explosions were strategically placed around the area, causing significant structural damage and chaos. Joker's involvement. Evidence at the scene, including the Joker's signature playing cards and a pre-recorded message broadcast over loudspeakers, confirmed his involvement. The message taunted the Gotham City Police Department and specifically mentioned Detective Kane by name. The message read as follows: Gotham is a joke, and Kane is the punchline. Officer down. Detective Sarah Reeves was gravely injured while shielding Detective Kane from falling debris caused by explosions. She suffered multiple fractures, a collapsed lung, and significant blood loss. First responders on the scene provided immediate medical assistance before transporting her to Gotham General Hospital, where she remains in critical condition. Detective Kane's status. Detective Kane sustained minor injuries during the attack, but was otherwise physically unharmed. However, following his arrival at the Gotham General Hospital and learning about Reeves' condition, Kane became increasingly agitated and uncooperative. At approximately 0200 hours, Kane left the hospital without clearance or notifying any attending personnel. Security footage later confirmed his unauthorized departure. Actions taken. City-wide alert. Given the nature of Kane's disappearance and the heightened state of his psychological profile, a city-wide alert has been issued for his immediate location and return. All officers have been advised to approach with caution, considering the recent escalation in his behavior and the potential risk of his current state. Next steps. A full review of the attack is underway, focusing on how the Joker was able to anticipate and target the task force so precisely. Internal investigations are also being conducted to ensure no further leaks or compromises within the department. Detective Kane's unauthorized departure is a serious concern. His recent actions suggest a potential compromise in his mental state and his safety. along with the safety of others, is of paramount importance. All available resources are being deployed to locate him as quickly as possible. Date unknown. I don't know how long it's been. Days, weeks. Doesn't matter. It's all clear to me now. The Joker's been showing me the truth, peeling back the layers, and I finally understand. This city, this whole system, it's a joke. And I'm the punchline. I used to think I was chasing him, but he was leading me. Sarah tried to protect me, but she never understood. She was loyal, always did what she thought was right, even when it cost her. But I see now that loyalty is wasted on a city that's rotten from the inside out. Gotham doesn't need another hero or another cop pretending to play by the rules. It needs someone who gets the joke, who sees the punchline. That's who I am now. Not Marcus Kane. Not a detective. Just another part of the punchline. I see it now. It's time to laugh. December 5th, Gotham Gazette. Headline: Joker strikes again with new accomplice. Gotham is in shock after a series of brutal new crimes linked to the Joker, this time with a mysterious accomplice by his side. Rumors are swirling that the accomplice could be former Gotham detective Marcus Kane, who disappeared last month under suspicious circumstances. Captain James Gordon has vowed to bring both criminals to justice, stating, "We will not stop until they are behind bars." Meanwhile, Detective Sarah Reeves is reported to be recovering from her injuries and remains determined to find Kane and end the Joker's reign of terror. This is M314. This is M314. Transmitting on all frequencies. If anyone is out there, if anyone can hear me, please listen carefully. My name doesn't matter anymore, but I am one of the few remaining inhabitants of Mars. I am speaking to you now from a hidden location, deep beneath the surface of our dying world. I know that many of you out there are struggling, that the weight of our current circumstances feels overwhelming. Our once great world that stood now lies in ruins, and the very ground beneath our feet has begun to crumble into red dust. But even in the face of this adversity, I believe that it is more important than ever to remember who we are and where we came from. The stories of our past, the legends and myths that have been passed down through generations, hold within them the key to our survival. The stories are time travelers. That is why I have taken it upon myself to gather and preserve these stories, to ensure that the essence of our culture and the spirit of our people, Martians, endure, even as our world fades away before our very eyes. And so, in the days and weeks to come, I will be sharing these stories with you, in the hope that they will provide not only entertainment and distraction, but also a sense of connection to our shared history and a glimmer of hope for our uncertain future. Before we dive into these mythical tales of Mars, it is important to understand the context in which they rose. You see, there was a time, not so long ago, when Mars was a very different place. A world of marvels and wonders, where the boundaries of what was possible seemed limited only by our imagination. I wish I could show you the Mars that once was. The towering spires that gleamed beneath the red sun. The vast libraries that housed the accumulated knowledge of generations. The gardens that bloomed with life and color amidst the oceans. Those days are gone now, lost to the ravages of time and the devastation of a cataclysm whose origins remained shrouded in mystery. What began as a slow decline soon accelerated until the very foundations of our society began to crumble. And yet, even as our world fell apart around us, there were those who refused to surrender, who clung to hope and to the belief that our story was not yet over. And so, let us begin our quest to remember the myths of Mars. Our first story begins in a time of great darkness, when the fate of our world hung in the balance, before the first Martian was born. It is the very first tale in Mars mythology. It is the tale of the Red Sun Warrior, a being created to confront an ancient evil and the unlikely bond that would reshape the destiny of Mars itself. So stay tuned, my friends, and together we shall embark upon a journey through the myths and memories of a world on the brink. For in these stories, we may yet find the strength to carry on and the courage to face whatever lies ahead. In the vast expanse of the cosmos, where stars dance and planets slumber, there exists a realm beyond the reach of mortal understanding, a place the very fabric of existence is woven by the hands of divine beings, each thread a story waiting to be told. It is here, in this celestial tapestry, that we find the Martian gods, the architects of a world steeped in mystery and wonder. At the heart of this pantheon of gods stands Solos, the god of the red sun, a figure of unparalleled wisdom and authority. His presence commands reverence, his gaze piercing through the veil of secrets that shrouds the universe. And with a crown of solar flames adorning his brow, Solos presides over the realm, a beacon of light amidst the eternal darkness. Beside him, Astra, the goddess of the moons, casts a luminous glow, and her shimmering silver hair a testament to the ethereal beauty she embodies. She is the keeper of dreams and prophecies, the one who whispers secrets to those who seek her guidance in the depths of night. Her eyes, like mirrors reflecting the cosmos, hold the knowledge of 1,000 lifetimes. Zephyros, the god of winds, dances through the skies, his form ever-changing and elusive. With a mere breath, he commands the atmospheric currents, shaping the destiny of worlds swift and unpredictable. Zephyros is the embodiment of change, a reminder that even the mightiest of gods are subject to the whims of fate. Thalia, the goddess of the sands, stands as an enigma, her skin the color of burnished copper, her eyes glimmering like desert mirages. She presides over the vast expanses of the Martian deserts, holding sway over the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. In her realm, the sands whisper ancient secrets, and the winds carry the echoes of forgotten tales. And then there is Neptus, the god of darkness, a figure cloaked in shadows and mystery, brother
to Solos. Neptus rules over the hidden depths, the secrets that lie buried beneath the hearts of gods and mortals alike. His power is one of untapped potential, a reminder that even in the darkest of abysses, there is the promise of revelation and growth. These are the main Martian gods, the architects of a world yet to be born. Their stories, woven together by the hands of fate, are the stuff of legends, tales whispered in the halls of the divine and etched into the very fabric of Mars itself. And it is in their celestial realm that our story begins. It is a tale of love, betrayal, and the birth of a world destined to shape the course of the cosmos. In the celestial realm, Solos and Thalia ruled side by side. Their divine union a testament to the power and balance of the universe. Solos, with his crown of solar flames and eyes that shone like the brightest stars, commanded the respect and admiration over all who beheld him. Thalia, her skin the color of burnished copper, and her gaze holding the secrets of the sands, was his equal in every way. Their love a force that sustained the very fabric of creation. But even in the realm of the gods, the heart's desires could not always be tamed. Neptus, the god of darkness, found himself inexplicably drawn to Thalia's enigmatic nature. In her, he saw a kindred spirit, a being who understood the depths of the universe's mysteries as he did. And it began with stolen glances, lingering moments when their eyes would meet across the grand halls of the celestial palace. A spark ignited within Neptus, a longing that grew with each passing day. He knew that his desire for Thalia was forbidden, a betrayal of the sacred bond she shared with Solos. But the pull he felt towards her was like the tide drawn to the shore, inevitable and unstoppable. And so, in the shadows of the celestial gardens, Neptus and Thalia began their secret affair. Under the cover of darkness, a veil that Neptus conjured to shield them from prying eyes, they explored the depths of their connection. Whispered words of longing and passion filled the air as they surrendered to the fire that burned between them. In the midst of their forbidden embrace, a cosmic miracle occurred. Their divine essence, intertwined in the throes of passion, and gave birth to an extraordinary creation. An egg that pulsed with the energy of a world waiting to be born. Thalia, her hands trembling as she cradled the orb, looked to Nephthys with a mixture of awe and fear in her eyes. "What have we done?" she whispered, her voice laced with both wonder and apprehension. Nephthys, his gaze fixed upon the egg, knew that their actions would have consequences. Consequences that would ripple throughout the celestial realm. "We have brought forth a new world, Thalia," he said softly, his hand coming to rest upon hers. "This is a planet born of our love, a testament to the power of our connection. But even as they marveled at their creation, the weight of their betrayal hung heavy in the air. They knew that Solos, with his all-seeing gaze, would soon discover their transgression. The wrath of the god of the Red Sun was not something to be taken lightly, and the fear of his retribution settled like a cold stone in the pits of their stomachs. And so, with heavy hearts, Nephthys and Thalia made the decision to send their cosmic egg far away, to a distant corner of the universe, where it could grow and flourish, safe from the prying eyes of the gods. They watched as the orb ascended into the heavens, a glimmering speck of light that carried with it the promise of a new world. Mars, a planet that would one day bear witness to the love and betrayal that had birthed it. As the egg disappeared from view, Nephthys and Thalia clung to each other, their forbidden love now forever sealed in the very fabric of the universe. Little did they know that their actions would set in motion a chain of events that would forever change the course of the celestial realm, and that the secrets they sought to bury would soon come to light in the most unexpected of ways. In the halls of the celestial palace, Zephyros, the god of the winds, moved with a restless energy, his eyes darting from one corner to another. He had long suspected that something was amiss. He felt a secret that hung in the air like a heavy mist. His suspicions were confirmed when he stumbled upon Nephthys and Thalia in a clandestine embrace, their bodies entwined in a passionate dance that spoke of a love that defied the very laws of the gods. Zephyros felt a surge of envy course through his veins, a bitter taste that lingered on his tongue. He had always coveted the favor of Solos, and the sight of Neptus and Thalia's forbidden bond ignited a spark of resentment within him. In their secret, he saw an opportunity to elevate his own position, to curry favor with the most powerful of gods. With a heart heavy with malice, Zephyros approached Solos in his grand throne room, his steps measured and his gaze downcast. Solos, sensing the weight of Zephyros's presence, turned his piercing eyes upon the god of the winds. "Speak, Zephyros," Solos commanded, his voice carrying the authority of 1,000 suns. "What brings you before me with such a troubled countenance?" Zephyros, kneeling before the throne, looked up at Solos with a calculated expression. "My lord," he began, his words dripping with feigned concern, "I come bearing news of a great betrayal, one that threatens the very foundations of our celestial realm." Solos leaned forward, his brow furrowed with concern. "What betrayal do you speak of, Zephyros? Who dares to defy the will of the gods?" Zephyros, his heart pounding with a twisted sense of anticipation, spoke the words that would shatter the peace of the celestial realm. "It is your own brother, Neptus, my lord. He has engaged in a forbidden affair with your consort, Thalia, and together they have birthed a new world, a planet called Mars." Solos's eyes widened, a flicker of anger sparking within their depths. "What proof do you have of this betrayal, Zephyros?" he demanded, his voice trembling with barely contained rage. Zephyros, his lips curling into a subtle smile, bowed his head. "I have seen it with my own eyes, my lord. They meet in secret, shrouded in the darkness that Neptus conjures to hide their transgressions. I blew the darkness away and saw them there. And the proof of their union, the planet Mars, it hurtles through the cosmos, a sign of their betrayal." Solos rose from his throne, his solar crown blazing with the fury of 1,000 suns. "Then bring me Neptus and Thalia," he commanded, his voice echoing through the grand halls. "They will answer for their actions and face the consequences of their betrayal." As Zephyros bowed and retreated from the throne room, A sense of satisfaction bloomed within his chest. He had set in motion a chain of events that would forever alter the balance of power within the celestial realm. And as he walked the halls of the palace, he could almost taste the sweet nectar of victory upon his tongue. Soon, in the grand celestial court, Neptus and Thalia stood before Solos. The tension in the air was thick and palpable. Solos, his eyes blazing with a fury that threatened to consume everything in its path, fixed his gaze upon the pair. His voice dripping with barely contained rage. "How dare you?" Solos growled, his fists clenched at his sides. "How dare you betray me? Betray the very laws that bind our realm?" Neptus, his head held high despite the fear that gripped his heart, met his brother's gaze unflinchingly. "We couldn't help it, Solos. Our love, it was something beyond our control. We never meant to hurt you." Solos let out a bitter laugh, the sound echoing throughout the grand hall. "Love? You call this betrayal love? You have created a world, a being that threatens the very balance of our realm, and you dare to call it love?" Thalia, her eyes filled with a fierce determination, stepped forward. "It is love, Solos. A love so powerful that it created life itself. Our child, the being that grows within Mars, will be a testament to that love." Solos, his rage boiling over, lashed out with his power, sending Thalia flying across the room. She hit the wall with a sickening thud, her body crumpling to the ground. Neptus, his heart wrenching in his chest, rushed to her side, cradling her in his arms. "Enough," Solos roared, his voice shaking the very foundations of the celestial court. "You will pay for your betrayal, Neptus. You will go to Mars, and you will destroy the abomination that grows within it." Neptus, his eyes wide with horror, shook his head violently. "No, Solos, I can't. That being is my child, our child. I won't destroy it." Solos, his eyes narrowing dangerously, raised his hand, a ball of solar fire forming in his palm. "You will do as I command, Neptus. kill this child, or I will destroy Thalia, and you will watch as she burns. One must be sacrificed. The choice will be yours." Thalia, her voice weak, but filled with a fierce love, reached up to touch Neptus's face. "My love, let our child live. It's the only choice." Neptus, his heart shattering in his chest, closed his eyes, tears streaming down his face. He knew that he had no choice, that he would do anything to protect Thalia, even if it meant sacrificing their child. "I'll do it," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the roar of Solos's power. "I'll go to Mars. I'll do what needs to be done." Solos's eyes, flashing with a grim satisfaction, lowered his hand, the solar flare dissipating into nothingness. "See that you do, Neptus, and know that if you fail, if you betray me again, I will hunt you down and destroy everything that you hold dear." As Neptus helped Thalia to her feet, his heart heavy with the weight of what he had to do, he knew that there was no turning back. He had made his choice, and now he would have to live with the consequences, no matter how painful they might be. And so, with a final anguished look at Thalia, Neptus turned and walked out of the celestial court, his steps heavy with the burden of his fate. He knew the path ahead would be filled with sorrow and pain, but he also knew that he would do whatever it took to protect the ones he loved, even if it meant sacrificing everything he held dear. Neptus, his heart heavy with the weight of his task, stepped onto the barren surface of Mars, his feet sinking into the red sand that stretched out before him like an endless sea. The planet, still in its infancy, was a harsh and unforgiving place, with towering mountains of jagged rock and vast plains of shifting dunes. As Neptus walked, his dark cloak billowing behind him in the thin Martian wind, he could feel the presence of the being that grew within the planet's core. It was a sensation unlike anything he had ever experienced before, a pulsing, palpable energy that seemed to permeate every grain of sand, every wisp of air. He followed that very sensation, his steps growing more and more purposeful, as he drew closer to the source of the power. And then, as he crested a rise of sand and rock, he saw it. A gigantic, massive, snake-like being, its scales glinting like burnished copper in the dim Martian light. The being was coiled around itself, its massive body filling a vast cavern that stretched out before Neptus like the maw of some great beast. Its eyes, twin pools of molten gold, fixed upon Neptus as he approached, and he could feel the weight of its gaze boring into his very soul. "My child," Neptus whispered, his voice barely audible over the low rumble that emanated from the being's throat. "What have we created?" The snake-like being, its voice a hiss that echoed through the cavern, spoke directly into Neptus's mind. "Father," it said, its tone filled with a mixture of reverence and curiosity. "You have come for me." Neptus, his heart twisting with the knowledge of what he had to do, forced himself to smile, to project an aura of calm and benevolence. "I have come to see you, my child," he said, his voice low and soothing, "to witness the miracle that your mother and I have brought into this world." The being, its eyes narrowing slightly, seemed to consider Neptus's words. "And what of the other gods?" it asked, its voice tinged with suspicion. "What do they think of my existence?" Neptus, his mind racing, knew that he had to tread very carefully. He could sense the immense power that radiated from the being, a power that dwarfed even his own. If he was to have any hope of carrying out this task, he would need to gain the being's trust, to lull it into a false sense of security. "The other gods," Neptus said, his voice filled with a false warmth. "The other gods are in awe of you, my child. They see in you the potential for greatness, a new era of divine rule." The being, its scales rippling with pleasure at Neptus's words, lowered its head, bringing its massive eye to bear on the god of darkness. "But what of you, Father?" it asked, its voice filled with a yearning that tore at Neptus's heart. "What do you see in me?" Neptus, his eyes filling with tears that he refused to let fall, reached out a hand, his fingers brushing against the being's scales. "I see in you the future, my child," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "A future filled with wonder and possibility. A future that we will create together." And as the being leaned into his father's touch, its eyes drifting closed in a moment of pure contentment, Neptus knew that he had won its trust. He had set in motion the plan that would allow him to carry out Solos's decree, to destroy the very being that he had helped create. But even as he felt the weight of his deception settling over him like a shroud, Neptus couldn't help but marvel at the sheer power and majesty of the creature that coiled before him. It was a being unlike any other, a child born of the love between two gods, and he knew that its destruction would haunt him for the rest of his days. And so Neptus, with his heart heavy with the weight of his deception, approached the snake-like being, his steps measured and careful. He could feel the power emanating from the creature, a pulsing, palpable energy that seemed to fill the very air around them. "My child," Neptus said, his voice low and soothing, "I have come to offer you guidance, to help you navigate the challenges that lie ahead. Being, its eyes glinting with a newfound trust, lowered its head, allowing Neptus to place a hand upon its scales. "I am grateful for your wisdom, Father," it said. "I know that with you by my side, I will be able to achieve great things." Neptus, his heart twisting with the knowledge of what he was about to do, forced himself to smile. He moved closer to the being, his hand trailing along its scales, until he was standing directly in front of its massive eye. And then, in a moment of pure betrayal, Neptus unleashed his power. A blast of dark energy that slammed into the being's eye with the force of 1,000 suns. The being, caught off guard by the sudden attack, let out a roar of pain and fury that shook the very foundations of the cavern. But the being, born of the union between the god of darkness and the goddess of the sands, was not so easily defeated. It drew upon the powers it had inherited from its parents, the darkness that flowed through its veins, and the sands that made up its very essence. With a mighty heave of its coils, the being burst forth from the cavern, its massive body rising up into the Martian sky like a mountain of scales and fury. Its eyes, once filled with trust and reverence, now blazed with a hatred that seared Neptus to his very core. "You dare to betray me, Father," the being roared, its voice a deafening thunder that shook the very air. "You dare to strike at me, your own child." Neptus, his power swirling around him in a maelstrom of darkness, met the being's gaze with a defiance born of desperation. "I do what I must, for the sake of the gods, for the sake of the universe itself," he said, his voice a low growl that was almost lost in the roar of the battle. And with those words, the two beings, father and child, god and monster, clashed in a battle that would shake the very foundations of Mars itself. Neptus, his power a seething mass of darkness, lashed out at the being with all the strength he could muster, his blows raining down upon its scales like the hammers of the gods. But the being was a force to be reckoned with. It met his father's attacks with a fury of its own, its massive coils writhing and twisting as it sought to crush the god of darkness beneath its weight. The being summoned forth great waves of sand, the grain swirling and whirling around like a living storm. The sands, imbued with the power of Thalia herself, lashed out at Neptus, tearing at his flesh and blinding his eyes. And then, the final devastating blow, the being unleashed a blast of pure darkness, a seething, writhing mass of shadows that engulfed Neptus like a tidal wave of pure, unadulterated power. Neptus, his scream of agony, lost in the roar of the battle, was thrown back, his body slamming into the jagged rocks of the Martian landscape with a sickening crunch. As he lay there, his life force ebbing away like the tide, Neptus could only watch as the being, his child, his creation, towered over him, its eyes filled with a hatred that burned like the fires of the underworld. "You have failed, Father," the being hissed, its voice a menacing whisper that seemed to fill the very air around them. And now, you will pay the price for your betrayal. And with those words, the being struck, its massive jaws closing around Neptus's broken body, its teeth sinking into his flesh like the blades of 1,000 swords. Neptus, his last thoughts filled with the bitter knowledge of his own failure and the terrible price that he had paid for his deception, embraced the darkness that rushed up to claim him, the sands of Mars swirling around him like a final mocking reminder of the power that he had dared to betray. Back in the celestial realm, Solos, the god of the red sun, sat upon his throne, his eyes fixed upon the cosmic tapestry that stretched out before him. Suddenly, a ripple passed through the very fabric of the universe, a disturbance that set the very stars themselves trembling in the heavens. Solos, his brow furrowed with concern, turned to Astra, the goddess of the moons, who stood now at his side. "Something has happened," he said, his voice low and urgent. "I can feel it. I can feel it in the very fabric of creation itself." Astra, her eyes glinting with a knowing light, nodded slowly. "Neptus," she said, her voice barely more than a whisper. "He has fallen in battle against his child on Mars." Solos, his eyes widening with a sudden realization, felt a wave of dread wash over him. "Then the situation is even more grave than I had feared," he said, his voice trembling with a rare hint of fear. "If Neptus, one of our most powerful gods, has been defeated, then the being that grows within Mars must be a force to be reckoned with indeed." Zephyros, the god of the winds, who had been listening to the exchange with a growing sense of unease, stepped forward, his eyes blazing with a fierce determination. "We cannot allow this being to threaten the balance of the universe," he said. "Neptus was one of our most fiercest warriors. We must create a champion, a warrior capable of confronting this threat specifically." Solos, his eyes glinting with a newfound resolve, nodded slowly. "You are right, Zephyros," he said, his voice low and determined. "We must combine our powers. Strength of the sun, the wisdom of the moons, and the swiftness of the winds, to forge a warrior unlike any other." And so, the three gods, Solos, Astra, and Zephyros, came together, their powers intertwining and merging like the threads of a cosmic tapestry, they poured their essence into the creation of a new being, a warrior born of the very fabric of the universe itself. As the warrior took shape, Solos imbued them with the strength of the sun, a fiery power that burned within their veins like the heart of a star. Astra granted them the wisdom of the moons, a deep, intuitive knowledge that glinted in their eyes like the light of 1,000 stars. And Zephyros bestowed upon them the swiftness of the winds, speed and agility that made them a blur of motion, a force of nature unto themselves. And thus, the Red Sun Warrior was born, a being of unparalleled power and majesty, a champion forged in the fires of creation itself. The skin was the color of the red sands of Mars, their eyes burning with the intensity of the sun itself. In their hand, they held a sword of pure solar fire, a weapon capable of cutting through the very fabric of reality itself. Solos, his eyes glinting with a fierce pride, looked upon the Red Sun Warrior with a sense of awe and wonder. "Go forth, my champion," he said, his voice ringing out like a trumpet blast. "Go to Mars and confront the child that threatens the balance of the universe." The Red Sun Warrior, their eyes blazing with a fierce determination, bowed low before Solos, Astra, and Zephyros. "I will not fail you, my gods," they said, their voice low and powerful, filled with the strength and courage of 1,000 warriors. "I will confront this threat, and I will emerge victorious, or I will die trying." And with those words, the Red Sun Warrior turned and strode forth from the celestial realm, their steps ringing out like the beating of a mighty drum. They set their sight upon Mars, the red speck in the distance, a world waiting to be saved, a destiny waiting to be fulfilled. As the Red Sun Warrior journeyed forth, the gods watched from high, their hearts filled with a sense of hope and dread, knowing that the fate of the universe hung in the balance, and that the Red Sun Warrior was their last, best hope for salvation. The Red Sun Warrior stepped forth onto the barren surface of Mars, his feet sinking into the red sands that stretched out before him like an endless sea. The planet, a harsh and unforgiving place, seemed to welcome him like a long-lost child, the very air itself thrumming with a sense of recognition and belonging. As the warrior traversed the Martian deserts, his skin drinking in the red light of the distant sun, he marveled at the way his body seemed to thrive in this alien environment. His lungs, created to breathe the thin, oxygen-poor air of Mars, drew in great gulps of the stuff, filling his chest with a sense of power and purpose. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity of wandering, the Red Sun warrior reached the domain of the snake-like being. It was a place of darkness and shadow, a great cavern that seemed to stretch down into the very heart of Mars itself. At its center, coiled like a mountain of scales and fury, lay the child of Neptus and Thalia, the snake being, its eyes glinting with a malevolent intelligence. The Red Sun warrior, his hand resting upon the hilt of his solar sword, approached the being, his steps slow and measured. "I am the Red Sun warrior," he said, his voice ringing out like a clarion call in the darkness of the cavern. "I've been sent by the gods themselves to confront you, to put an end to your reign of terror and destruction. The snake-like being, its eyes narrowing into stilts of pure malice, uncoiled itself from its resting place, its massive body rising up to tower over the Red Sun warrior like a mountain of living darkness. "You dare challenge me, little godling," it hissed. "You are but a pale imitation of the true gods, a creature of flesh and blood and weakness." The Red Sun warrior, his eyes blazing with the fire of the sun itself, drew his solar sword from its sheath, the blade flaring to life with a blinding intensity. "I am more than flesh and blood, creature of darkness," he said. "I am the embodiment of the strength of the sun, the wisdom of the moons, and the swiftness of the winds. I am the champion of the gods, and I will not rest until you are destroyed." With those words, the Red Sun warrior leapt forward, his solar sword flashing through the air like a bolt of lightning. The snake-like being, its scales as hard as diamonds, met the blow with a thunderous crash, its massive coils writhing and twisting as it sought to crush the life from the warrior's body. Back and forth they fought, the Red Sun warrior's solar sword flashing and darting like a living flame, the snake-like being's scales glinting and shimmering in the darkness of the cavern. It was a battle of titanic proportions, a clash of powers beyond the comprehension of mortal minds. But the snake-like being was a formidable foe. It lashed out with waves of living shadow, its scales as hard as the red rock of Mars itself, its eyes glinting with a malevolent intelligence. It seemed to pierce the very soul of the Red Sun warrior. And soon, the snake coiled its massive body tightly around him. The Red Sun warrior, his breath coming in ragged gasps, felt the creature's coils tightening around him like a vice. He struggled against the constricting grip, his muscles straining with effort. But even as he struggled, he felt the strangest sensation washing over him, a feeling that was both foreign and familiar all at once. As the snake's scales slid against his skin, the Red Sun warrior felt a sudden rush of heat surging through his body. It was a sensation unlike anything he had ever experienced before. A primal, caramel feeling that seemed to emanate from the very core of his being. To his shock and amazement, the Red Sun warrior realized that the sensation he was feeling was one of pure, unadulterated arousal. The touch of the snake being's scales against his skin, the pressure of its coils around his body, was igniting a fire within him that he never even knew existed. The snake being, its eyes widening with a sudden understanding, tightened its coils around the Red Sun warrior in a different way, its scales caressing his skin with a sensual, almost erotic touch. The warrior, his body responding instinctively to the creature's ministrations, let out a low, guttural moan, not of pain, but of pure pleasure. In that moment, the battle between the two beings took on a new, unexpected dimension. Their bodies, once locked in combat, now moved together in a dance of passion and desire. The Red Sun warrior's hands, once gripping his solar sword, now roamed over the snake being's scales, exploring every inch of its form. And as they moved together, their bodies joining in a primal carnal embrace, the Red Sun warrior felt a surge of power building within him. It was a raw, untamed energy that seemed to emanate from the very depths of his being, a force that was both ancient and new, all at once. With a final, shuddering gasp of ecstasy, the Red Sun warrior and the snake-like being reached the peak of their passion. And in that moment, something extraordinary began to take shape between them. A new life, born of the union of the Red Sun warrior and the snake creature, began to form, its tiny body taking shape in the cradle of their joined forms. As the moments passed, the new being began to grow and change, its skin taking on the hue of the red sands of Mars, its eyes gleaming with the wisdom and the intelligence of the deep. It was a being unlike any other, a fusion of the powers of the Red Sun warrior and the snake-like creature, a child of the red planet itself. With a final shuddering gasp, the two beings separated, their bodies glistening with the sweat of their exertions. The Red Sun warrior, his eyes wide with wonder and amazement, reached out to cradle the newborn being in his arms, its tiny form wriggling and squirming with the first stirrings of life. Snake, its eyes glinting with a new emotion, coiled itself around the Red Sun warrior and the newborn being, its scales gleaming like polished copper in the dim light of the cavern. And as they looked down at the tiny, wriggling form in their arms, they knew that they had created something extraordinary, a being destined to change the fate of Mars and the universe itself. For in that moment, the first Martian had been born, a child of the red sands and the cosmic powers, a being unlike any other in all of creation. In the celestial realm, Solos, Astra, and Zephyros watched the events unfolding on Mars with growing concern. They had witnessed the unexpected union of the Red Sun warrior and the child of Neptus and Thalia, and the subsequent birth of the first Martian. A sense of unease rippled through the pantheon as the gods contemplated the potential consequences of this new development. Solos, his brow furrowed with apprehension, turned to his fellow gods. "This cannot stand," he declared, his voice tinged with both anger and fear. "The birth of this new being threatens the very balance of the realm. If left unchecked, it could rise to challenge our authority and upset the order we have maintained for eons." Astra and Zephyros, sharing Solos's concerns, nodded in agreement. They knew that they could not allow this new power to grow and flourish, lest it one day seek to usurp their own. With a shared sense of purpose, the three gods unleashed their fury upon Mars, determined to eradicate the potential threat before it took root. Zephyros, his eyes flashing with the fury of 1,000 storms, summoned forth great gales and torrential rains, seeking to drown the snake-like being the Red Sun warrior, and the firstborn Martian. Astra, her face a mask of cold determination, called down bolts of lightning from the moons, the searing energy arcing through the Martian sky and striking the ground with devastating force. The land around the snake-like being and the Red Sun warrior exploded in a shower of rock and dust, the shock waves rippling out across the planet's surface. Solos, his solar crown blazing with the intensity of 1,000 suns, focused his power upon Mars, scorching the land with the heat of his gaze. Fire rained down from the heavens, setting the very atmosphere ablaze, turning the once barren plains into a sea of molten rock. Amidst the chaos and destruction, Thalia watched the onslaught with a heavy heart, torn between her loyalty to her fellow gods and her love for the snake-like being. She knew that she could not stand idly by and watch as her child and grandchild were destroyed. And so, with a surge of maternal instinct, Thalia threw herself into the fray, her powers over the sands of Mars rising up to shield the snake-like being, the Red Sun warrior, and the first Martian from the worst of the gods' wrath. The sands swirled and danced around the small family, forming a protective barrier that deflected the lightning and the flames, buying them precious moments of respite. But even as Thalia fought to protect her loved ones, the gods' powers reshaped the Martian landscape around them. Towering mountains erupted from the ground, their jagged peaks aimed like giant spears at the snake-like being. Vast canyons opened up beneath their feet, seeking to trap and crush the creature with its family. And yet, even in the midst of the destruction, something remarkable was happening. The gods' powers, intended to eradicate all life from the surface of Mars, were inadvertently creating a world perfectly suited for the Martians to thrive. Hidden water sources bubbled up from deep underground, forming oases of life in the midst of the chaos. Protected shelters took shape in the depths of the newly formed caves, offering sanctuary from the storms and the heat. And as the battle raged on, the Martian landscape continued to shift and change, the gods sculpting it to create a place of both danger and opportunity. And in the heart of it all, the snake-like being, the Red Sun warrior, and the first Martian child clung to each other, their love and determination a beacon of hope in a world gone mad. For even as the gods sought to destroy them, the Martians had already taken root. Their presence on the red planet, a testament to the enduring power of life and the indomitable spirit of those who dared to challenge the very fabric of the universe itself. In the midst of the gods' onslaught, Thalia stood firm. Her love for her daughter and grandchild burning brighter than the fires of the red sun. She knew that she could not allow the other gods to destroy the family she held dear, even if it meant sacrificing everything she had ever known. With a final, desperate surge of power, Thalia summoned forth the very essence of the Martian sands, weaving them into a shield of unimaginable strength. The barrier shimmered and pulsed with energy, deflecting the lightning, the flames, the raging storms. Solos, Astra, and Zephyros, their powers spent and their anger finally abating, looked upon Thalia with a mix of awe and dismay. They had never seen such a display of raw, unfettered love, and the sight of it gave them pause. Thalia, her eyes blazing with the fire of a mother's determination, spoke to her fellow gods, her voice ringing out across the ravaged plains of Mars. Enough, she declared, her words heavy with the weight of her sacrifice. I will not allow you to destroy my family, even if it means giving up my place among the gods. Solos, his face a mask of sorrow and regret, stepped forward, his hand outstretched in a gesture of reconciliation. Thalia, he said, his voice barely audible over the howling winds. Please don't do this. We can find another way. But Thalia shook her head, her resolve unwavering. No, she said firmly, her gaze locked with Solos. There is no other way. My child, my grandchild, and the Red Sun Warrior are the future of Mars, and I will not let you take that away from them. And with those words, Thalia turned her back on the gods, her powers surging forth in a final cataclysmic display. The sands of Mars rose up around her, swirling and dancing in a vortex of raw, primal energy. The very ground beneath their feet began to shake and tremble as Thalia poured every ounce of her being into the maelstrom. Slowly, the gods began to retreat, their forms flickering and fading as the power of Thalia's sacrifice pushed them back. And one by one, they vanished from the surface of Mars. And then, with a final shuddering gasp, Thalia herself began to fade, her body dissolving into the sands of Mars. But even as she disappeared from view, her voice echoed across the plains, a whisper of love and hope that would endure for all eternity. Live, my children, she breathed, her words carried on the winds of Mars. Live and thrive, and never forget the love that brought you into this world. As the last traces of Thalia vanished into the sands, the snake being the Red Sun warrior and their newborn Martian child found themselves alone on the surface of Mars. But the world around them had been forever changed, the gods having shaped it into a place of wonder and beauty. And so, as the Martian winds whipped across the plains and the red sun blazed overhead, the three took their first steps into a new world, a world that they would shape and mold in their own image, a world that would become a testament to the enduring power of love and the unbreakable bonds of family. And there you have it, my friends, the very first Martian myth, the story of the Red Sun warrior and the birth of the first Martian, the very first of us. It's a tale that has been passed down through generations, a reminder of the power of love and the resilience of the Martian spirit. But as I look upon the world we inhabit right now, I can't help but feel a sense of despair. The oceans that once sparkled beneath the red sun have all but disappeared, leaving behind only vast expanses of barren sand. The very lifeblood of our planet is being drained away, and I fear that soon there will be nothing left but dust and echoes. I know that many of you out there are struggling, that the weight of this calamity feels too much to bear. And I do wish I could offer you more than just stories and myths, more than the fading memories of a world that once was. But perhaps there is still hope to be found, even in the midst of this desolation. The legends speak of a time when the Red Sun warrior will return, when the sands of Mars will once again give birth to new life and new possibilities. And so I ask you, my fellow Martians, what can we do to hasten this return? What sacrifices must we make? What trials must we endure to summon the Red Sun warrior back to our aid? For surely if there was ever a time we needed a hero, it is now. I do not know what the future holds, my friends. I do not know if the oceans will return. But what I do know is that we cannot lose hope. We cannot give in to despair. For as long as we hold on to the stories of our past, as long as we believe in the power of love and sacrifice, and perhaps, just perhaps, we may yet find a way forward. And so, I leave you with this final thought. Hold fast to each other, my friends, my Martians, hold fast to the legends and the myths that have sustained us through these ages, and never, ever stop believing in the possibility of a better tomorrow. May the spirit of the Red Sun Warrior guide us all, and may the sands of Mars once again give birth to hope. Farewell, my friends, until we meet again.